I was shocked. I was not expecting this news.
Breaking news from the NBA, Giannis Antetokounmpo is headed to South Beach.
It is Giannis and Bobby Portis to the Heat.
Considering making this move because they know that their number 2 or 1A, as we say, wants to be number 1.
One decision just erased 13 years of history. No warning shots, no dramatic press conference, just a call, and suddenly the entire hierarchy of professional basketball looked different. The same hands that once raised a championship trophy meant to launch a dynasty now belong to a completely different franchise. And this new organization has one specific talent: turning great players into champions. Forget everything you assumed about how this story was supposed to end. This is not a farewell. This is a direct threat to every roster standing in the way. Something dangerous just touched down in South Beach, and the rest of the league has barely begun to process it.
It doesn't feel good, man. It doesn't feel good. Just gotta look myself in the mirror and I just have to be better.
Rewind the clock to the single performance that convinced an entire fan base a dynasty had officially arrived. In a closeout finals game, this player produced 50 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 blocked shots, a stat line so complete that seasoned basketball analysts genuinely struggled to find any real historical comparison for it. That single night delivered a championship trophy, a finals MVP award, and an entire city convinced their best days were only just beginning. None of it lasted. 5 years later, that exact same organization collapsed to one of the ugliest records in franchise history, missing the postseason entirely for the first time in nearly a decade. Their franchise cornerstone spent large portions of that final season stuck in street clothes on the sideline instead of dominating on the court. The dynasty, everyone confidently predicted, simply never arrived. Poor roster planning, aging depth pieces, and one brutal injury after another slowly dismantled everything that once looked genuinely unstoppable. By the time this year's draft weekend rolled around, the front office finally admitted publicly what had already been obvious internally for months. It was time to blow the entire roster up and rebuild from scratch.
In Miami, it's a group of cost-controlled players, rookie-scale contracts.
What makes this particular departure so different from almost every other superstar exit in recent memory is the complete absence of drama surrounding it. When this player first arrived from overseas as a teenager, virtually unknown outside a small circle of international scouts, nobody was predicting future stardom. What followed became one of the most remarkable individual transformations this sport has witnessed in the modern era. Most Improved Player honors, back-to-back league MVP awards, Defensive Player of the Year recognition, and eventually a championship run that placed his name directly beside legendary teams from generations before him. He had countless genuine opportunities to leave for a bigger market throughout his career. He turned every single one of them down. He kept trusting that his organization could eventually finish building a real contender around him. That trust was never fully rewarded in return. A major trade for a star point guard ended abruptly with a season-ending Achilles injury during the following postseason run. Veteran role players departed the roster one after another. The supporting cast around him grew thinner with every single offseason, while his physical prime quietly kept ticking away in the background. By the following winter, with his team sinking well beneath a winning record, he and his representation delivered one consistent private message directly to ownership across several months of losing basketball. It was time for both sides to finally separate. He never demanded it publicly. He never staged a walkout or created a media circus. He simply waited, patiently and quietly, until the organization was finally forced to accept reality.
Considering making this move because they know that their number 2 or 1A, as we say, wants to be number 1.
Now meet the man who single-handedly orchestrated this entire blockbuster deal. He's over 80 years old and has spent nearly his entire adult life constructing championship-caliber rosters from the ground up. He guided a legendary Lakers dynasty to 4 separate championships as a head coach decades earlier. He built an entire Miami powerhouse from virtually nothing but ambition. he landed a dominant championship-winning center through free agency in the mid-2000s. He engineered one of the most famous super team formations this sport has ever witnessed back in 2010. And more recently, he successfully convinced a hard-nosed, defensive-minded star to fully buy into his organization's culture when rival franchises openly questioned whether that fit would even work. This time, he pulled off arguably the boldest and most aggressive move of his entire career. Miami agreed to send away their longtime leading scorer, a recent All-Star selection, alongside multiple promising young rotation pieces and a genuinely massive haul of future draft capital, including unprotected first-round selections years down the line. That is an enormous franchise-altering price to pay for one player. But in direct exchange, this front office landed a 2-time league MVP, a 10-time All-Star, and the only player in the entire history of this league to collect Most Improved Player, back-to-back MVP trophies, Defensive Player of the Year, and Finals MVP honors across one single career. Even coming off a heavily injury-shortened season limited to roughly 30 dozen total games, he still managed to average nearly 28 points, close to 10 rebounds, and over 5 assists a night, all while shooting an elite percentage from the floor. Another legitimate Eastern Conference contender reportedly pushed their offer all the way to the table, building a competitive package centered around one of their own homegrown stars. It still fell noticeably short. Miami got this deal across the finish line regardless.
So just to put it plainly, Giannis felt like his time was up with the Bucks a calendar year ago. The Bucks at every turn did everything they could to try to keep him. Giannis informed the team numerous times that it was time for both sides to move on. But listen, Pat Riley has landed his white whale. We know his history. Shaquille O'Neal, Alonzo Mourning, LeBron James, Chris Bosh, Jimmy Butler, and now Giannis is walking into Miami to play in South Beach with Bam Adebayo.
Now picture exactly what this transformation actually looks like once the basketball is live, because the reaction rippling across the league has shifted well past cautious concern into genuine, widespread alarm. Miami already employed a versatile, athletic big man in his late 20s, a multiple-time All-Star fully capable of guarding smaller, quicker ball handlers out on the perimeter while still anchoring the paint defensively behind him. His individual defensive impact numbers ranked among the very best of his entire career during this past season alone. Now place him directly beside a former Defensive Player of the Year who stands nearly 7 feet tall, moves in transition like a much smaller wing player, and consistently erases costly mistakes at the rim after covering more open floor than practically anyone else on the entire roster. Combined, these two defenders have already accumulated more than a dozen career all-defensive team selections between them. Under a head coach widely regarded as one of the absolute sharpest defensive minds this sport has ever produced, this new front-court pairing could realistically evolve into one of the single most disruptive defensive duos professional basketball has seen in recent memory. And offensively, this addition instantly solves a persistent problem that has quietly haunted this exact franchise for years now: the desperate need for a genuine downhill force capable of physically bulldozing toward the rim regardless of whatever defensive scheme stands directly in front of him. Everything else on the floor opens up dramatically because of it. Passing lanes widen considerably, driving lanes suddenly appear out of nowhere. His new frontcourt partner instantly gains more room to operate freely than he has ever realistically had before in his entire career. Of course, no true blockbuster trade of this magnitude ever arrives without a few legitimate questions attached directly to it. This particular roster still desperately needs additional outside shooting, especially immediately after losing its single most reliable perimeter marksman as part of the larger trade package. One returning wing player is fresh off the genuine best season of his entire career so far and absolutely deserves top financial priority for re-signing this upcoming summer. Another veteran forward currently holds a hefty player option worth tens of millions of dollars and is fully expected to exercise it, adding real, tangible two-way value out on the perimeter. A steady, defensive-minded floor general anchors the starting backcourt rotation, while a physical, gritty rebounding specialist arrives as a direct part of the larger trade itself, fitting naturally and seamlessly into this particular franchise's long-established competitive identity. But the spacing concerns surrounding this new roster construction is entirely real and simply cannot be dismissed outright. Multiple key front court pieces currently on this roster shoot noticeably below the league average from three-point range, which genuinely means opposing defenses could realistically sag off several different non-shooters simultaneously and completely clog the entire paint area. Exactly how this front office chooses to address that specific spacing gap throughout the remainder of the offseason will likely determine precisely how far this particular roster can ultimately go this upcoming season. Still, the underlying advanced numbers actually offer real, tangible reason for genuine optimism here. This exact core group already comfortably outscored opposing teams during their shared minutes together last season, even before formally adding a two-time league MVP directly into that existing equation. Zoom the entire picture out even further, and the surrounding conference landscape becomes even more dramatic than it already appears. The reigning defending conference champions do not currently possess a single dominant front-court presence anywhere close to this particular caliber. Another legitimate top contender genuinely has real roster depth, but still clearly lacks one truly elite, franchise-defining superstar. The exact team that originally lost out on this specific trade now has to face him directly instead during a future playoff series. Several other franchises scattered throughout the conference are still actively developing or fully rebuilding from the ground up entirely. The realistic path through this particular conference has arguably never looked more wide open than it does right now, and Miami just calmly walked straight through that door with one of the single most physically dominant players this entire sport has ever realistically produced. For well over a decade, this league quietly told itself a comfortable, convenient story about exactly what this specific player could and could not realistically become. Permanently held back by playing in a smaller market, gradually worn down by an aging supporting roster around him, steadily slowed by nagging injuries that genuinely seem to keep piling up year after year. That entire comfortable narrative just collapsed completely overnight in a single stunning move. Because the veteran architect behind this exact trade has never once mortgaged his franchise's future just to stay comfortable or conventional. He mortgages that future specifically to win championships full stop. And he clearly and genuinely believes this 31-year-old former league MVP, even fresh off arguably his most injury-riddled season to date, remains exactly the caliber of players still fully capable of delivering one more title. South Beach has already witnessed several legitimately legendary superstars walk through that exact arena throughout its history. It has genuinely never quite witnessed a front court pairing constructed anything like this one before. The rest of the league just watched their single biggest collective fear come true in real time, and this front office is clearly not finished making moves just yet. Do you honestly believe this new pairing actually delivers a full championship, or does Miami still realistically need one more piece to get there? Drop your real prediction directly in the comment section below. Hit that like button and make sure you are fully subscribed for more breakdowns.